Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. And as ever, I have absolutely zero script. I haven't really put much thought into what we're going to talk about. It's all off the top of my head. That is just how good I am. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm joined by Wilf, Brian, and Kerr. Gentlemen, I would ask you how you are, but honestly, I don't care. So we'll just swiftly move on from that. Plus, I'm not really talking to Kerr now for reasons that I'm pretty sure everybody watching knows. I'm not even going to jump into it. But yeah, hello, welcome. Thank you for watching. Your viewership, I should say, is greatly appreciated. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and follow us across all socials, etc. And check out our main sponsors, Kitbag. The link for that's in the description. Their Star Buy sale runs out soon. We can get up to 65% off a wide variety of football tops, including this season's 4 Rangers tops as well. So yeah, hello, welcome. There's actually plenty that we could discuss. You know, we'll go into a wee bit of last night. I think there's a couple of things we could maybe get a wee 5-10 minutes out of that. You know, there was the Conspiracy Cup draw as well, which is always fun to talk about. We've got a transfer rumour in February, which for Rangers is also strange. And if people watching want to get in the comments stuff that they want us to talk about, that they want us to bring up, then we shall absolutely do that as well. Kerr, my friend, how are you?
I'm fine, Martin.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Brian, how are you?
Fine. Nice quiet day today, so looking forward to this one.
I'm trying to remember the last time you were actually at work, Brian.
I'm on annual leave. It's great.
No, you're actually on long-term sick, so I don't know why you're on this podcast, because you'll get caught. You'll absolutely get caught. Wolf, how are you?
Right. No, I'm fine.
More to the point, Wolf, how's your missus after the day's draws?
She's been in better moods on a Monday tea time, I have to say. Yeah, I had to relay the draw down the phone to her because she was driving home from work, and I relayed the Women's Cup draw. I said, she's at home. Obviously, she's a Jambo. She's at home to Celtic, and she went, oh fuck. Then the men's draw came out. I said, she's at home. She says, that's fine. To the same team you're playing in the women's, and I think she nearly crashed her car.
Well, they've got a very good record at Tynecastle, so I think it's actually an easier draw than what people are making out. So.
No, because Celtic's got a very good record at Tynecastle as well, to be fair.
That's what I just said, but you weren't listening. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm used to it. I'm absolutely used to it. Can I say I've got a new favourite name of all the people who comment and watch. I've got an absolutely new favourite name. Who cares? That is brilliant, isn't it? That is superb, Kerr. To be idolised like that, Kerr, that must feel good.
No, it's actually probably a dig. Who cares?
Nobody.
That's correct.
Right, so Kerr, you were on I'm sure you were on the reaction with me last night.
I was, yes.
Have you managed to kind of calm down a wee bit from the game and one or two situations that angered you a little?
I did. I watched the highlights last night and I've looked back on other stuff this morning. I'm still not really changing my opinion, but I can see why it was done and the reasons, and it's just tough to move on. My opinion still, if it was I was a manager, I wouldn't have done it, but that's just me. But I can understand why it was done and how it was done, and we won the match, and obviously didn't want that goal to be the one that help us beat Partick Thistle. That way I can see it for that, and I don't want that pressure on Malik Tillman either as a young boy, and I can see what Michael Beale was talking about, so I understand the reasons, and also it shows that we're above everybody else in Scottish football. But just from my perspective, the sporting integrity thing in Scotland's just kind of went pop in the last 5 or 6 years, so that's the reason I wouldn't have done it, because I don't think anybody had done it for us, but that's just coming from me, it's not coming from the manager, so I appreciate what he'd done and we just move on. I'm not getting any disrespect against him at the time, I was just angry.
Aye, as were quite a lot of people, to be fair, and possibly rightly, possibly wrongly. It depends on your opinion. Well, if I'll come to you about it in just a wee second, because we went right on and done the reaction, I didn't really get a chance to catch the manager's post-match press conference. I've seen a couple of lines from what he'd said, but I still actually haven't went back and watched it. But check in the comments, why hasn't the club mentioned the stamp on Malik? What chance we got with the board's cowardice? Is it up to the board, Wilf, to come out and comment on that specific incident, or is it up to the manager to bring it up, or is it up to the press to ask him?
The press are never going to ask him. The way the press are in Scotland, they're never going to ask him about that. They mentioned it. You should have mentioned that the ball. For me, you should have mentioned that the ball was put out of play due to the challenge on Malik, and he could have framed his comment as a stamp. I thought it was a stamp. I can't believe with VAR at the game they didn't go back and look at that, because if they deem that to be a stamp, then the whole Malik intercepts the guy's bad control off the throw and doesn't become an issue, because the guy gets sent off and we get a free kick, and the game moves on from there. And there's not all this should be a let them walk the ball in after, after a professional footballer can't control a ball thrown to him from his colleague from about 3 feet away with 4 touches. You know what I mean? On a pitch that's like a bowling green. I'd expect a Rangers player to control a ball better than that, supposing he was at St Johnstone, where the pitch is like a ploughed field. You know what I mean? You can understand why Malik went in and took the ball off him. I mean, I bumped into a qualified referee after the game. He's involved in fan media. I'm not going to name him, but you'll all know who he is. And I said, look, why did the referee not just stop the play if it was going to be such an issue? And he said, well, he couldn't really. And my reaction to that was, well, he could have found something wrong with the throw. And he says, you mean he could have cheated? I said, well, to me, he cheated anyway, because he never sent anybody off for Malik getting decked when there was a rammy in the box, which at the time I thought was the goalkeeper. But I've seen it back, and it wasn't the goalkeeper. It was their captain. Was it the boy Holt? It was him that knocked Tillman over. But the goalkeeper was the first to put hands on him. So the goalkeeper, for me, should have been booked for that. And then he was cautioned later on for time wasting, so he should have been off. But all that could have been avoided had somebody flagged up the fact that the only reason Tillman was on the ground was the guy stamped on his ankle, which at the very least a yellow card. The free kick to Rangers, the throw-in doesn't happen, and there's none of this debate of is what Rangers did right or wrong. And for the record, I'm still on the fence. I don't know whether it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do.
This ref you're talking about, Wilf, is he English?
This ref, I had never heard of the guy, but he's a...
No, I'm talking about the ref you were talking to after the game. Is he English?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Jeff. No, it wasn't.
Does his name rhyme with Spike?
Rhyme with Spike.
Is his first name Mike? Wolf?
No.
All right, okay. Well,
he's not a top flight ref.
No idea what you're talking about.
He's a qualified ref. He's not a top. You do know who I'm talking about. I'll tell you off here. I don't want to name him.
You're adding to the conspiracy theories here, Will. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, but what he said was the referee couldn't stop the play, and he's probably right. I just thought, well, the referee could have found something wrong with the throw and said, look, that doesn't stand. The throw-in was wrong. Blah, whatever. You know what I mean? And it would have taken the whole thing out of the whole. Michael Beale have done what made the decision he made out of the equation. Now, I've got no issue with letting them walk it in because we won the game. Had we lost the game, I'd be sitting here spitting chips.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm quite on the fence about whether, because at the time we realised, myself and the guy behind me in the club, that we realised what was happening, that Michael Beale was going to say, look, let them walk it in, and we couldn't believe what we were watching. I mean, my daughter was with me, and she's over the moon that she's got a video on her phone of somebody just walking the ball from the halfway line into the net because she's never seen it before. And I said, Demi, you're 19. I've been watching football for 45 years and I've never seen it. You know what I mean?
Well, it happened a few years ago at Leeds Aston Villa. Was it Leeds Aston Villa? I think it happened. So
but I didn't see it.
Pontus Jansson was the player that took exception to it for Leeds.
Do you know what? On that point, Brian, right? Firstly, on the challenge itself. Now, maybe it is my blue-tinted specs. I don't know. I'm always willing to admit when I'm wrong if somebody points out a valid reason as to why I'm wrong. But I can't understand, how the boy isn't sent off for stamping on Malik's ankle, because for me it looks deliberate, and it's not like he's trying to stretch for the ball. The ball's well gone. Even if he was stretching, for me, he's got time to move his foot back, Brian. It looks like a clear stamp with the intent to injure him. So for me, that is an absolute stonewall red card. So I'm amazed that the ref doesn't give it, but if the ref's genuinely missed it, I'm amazed that VAR hasn't looked at it.
It was certainly bordering on cowardly as a tackle. He knew what he was doing. He, as you say, he left his boot in there clearly. Yeah, I'm amazed like you that VAR didn't sort of say to the referee, look, you've missed something clear and obvious. You better go and look at it. I thought that's what VAR was for, but clearly not. And then on the goal situation, I think sitting with my two pals, Mark and Mark, last night in the pub.
Mark and
Mark.
They're both called Mark.
So
never.
So if they're two marks, does that make you a no mark?
Probably, yes.
Oh, this is poor.
I'll let you away with that one. So, if you'd heard the colourful language that we were saying at the incident, you would obviously have realised we weren't too pleased. Obviously, we'd won the game. I think we'd calmed down slightly because we'd won the game. But I think after a sleep, thinking about it, time to think, I think Michael Beale's actually done the club. He's probably. I mean, it was big news in America, obviously, because Tillman plays for Rangers, and of course, it was all over American news that Rangers have done this great sportsmanship, letting Partick score. So, in some respects, he's actually done a lot of good for the club, in the sense that it's gave us a good sort of bit of PR. In the sense, we've realised we made a mistake.
Brian, forget the PR, right? Forget all about the PR, right? Was it the right decision?
Well, it's the right decision because we won the game. But at the time, it's the whole story. Would anybody have done it for us? And I doubt they would.
But I don't care. I don't care about that.
I don't
care about that.
I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult. I kind of feel it is the right decision, but at the same time, I'm torn.
Don't sit on the fence. Please don't sit on the fence. For me, it was the right decision. At the time, it was the right decision. Last night, I thought it was the right decision. You can see the boys miscontrolled the ball, and he's clearly going to kick it back to us. Right? Malik Tillman's read the situation wrong, but he's not done it on purpose. He's then took the ball, and he's actually went and scored a lovely goal, right? Which is fair enough. Mick Beale's realised, Ian McCall's realised the whole situation. All right, fair enough. Give them the ball, they'll score, and we'll carry on with the game. Kerr, I don't think personally that anything should have been made out of this. I get that it's a spectacle because it's not something that usually happens, and it's something a bit different, and it maybe causes some papers to sell a few more than what they usually do. But for me, there was nothing in it. The right decision was made, and you move on.
I think it was always going to cause issues. I think the support's actually split down the middle with this. I think half the support agreeing, half are thinking, what about if it was one each at a time, or what about it cost us the game? It's worked out because we won. Personally, like I said to you, if it was me making a decision, I wouldn't have done it. But I can see where Michael Beale's coming from. So I know you said don't sit on the fence. I'm sitting on the fence because I know where he was coming from. And it was probably right in the way he did it. But as an unwritten rule in football, he didn't have to do it. He's done it through his own. He's done it off his own back. But if it was me making that decision, I'd have said no. That's a goal. Let's play on. Because I thought the boy had enough chance to control the ball and get it away. It's not my fault he can't control a football. And I just thought it was just accumulation of things. I just thought it was wrong at the time, and I'm still probably sitting on that side of the fence. But I can see why the club have done it. I can see why Michael Beale's done it. And it's good PR for the club, but we don't look at the PR and say we want to win. Unfortunately, we won. But the fact they went against us, you might have still said it was the right decision, but you'd have been angry as well. We get beat, and that might have caused us a game. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's one of the things we'll probably not see again. So we just have to move on.
No, but
I think the other way to look at it as well is if we didn't do what we did and let them score, could you imagine the mainstream media with Tillman and what the vilification he would have got?
Do you think?
Yeah,
Do
Just
you
that
think?
line. The point.
Sorry, Wolf. Do you think that's why
Sorry.
the main reason why Beale done it then?
No, I don't think that's the main reason, but I bet that came into his thinking that he didn't want anybody, piling on top of Tillman for doing what he did. Personally,
Well, he basically said that after the game. But the point somebody made to me, and I never thought about it until they said it to me last night, was if we just got on with the game, let Partick kick off and just got on with the game and carried on. Do you think anybody would ever give us the ball back again if we kicked out for a player to get treatment? You know what I mean?
This is one of the things you don't know, innit? But Wolf, do you know what?
It's all conjecture.
For me, Wolf, right? Obviously, this has been the issue because of how close the game was, etc. Some people have said, look, if you were 2-1 down to Celtic and the same happened, would you do it in a cup final or a defining league fixture game? And for me, the answer for me there is the correct thing to do is to do what we done last night, but I wouldn't do it. But that still doesn't mean that it's not the right thing to do, if you get what I'm saying, right? But the reason, I suppose, that this has become a bigger story than what it has is because we were so poor last night.
Oh, we're dreadful. First half was the worst half of football we've played in a long time. I mean, it was awful. I mean, the manager put his hands up and said it's probably down to him. He made too many changes. He made too many changes. He had players playing. I mean, we're normal front three. None of them are playing at all. I mean, normally you've got Kent, Sakala, and Morelos, or two of the three, or at least one of the three. You had none of them. You had a brand new front three up there. The midfield was unrecognisable. Playing James Sands. James Sands had a decent game and he got the winning goal. But the manager himself said, look, I'm not judging him as a centre half because he's not a centre half. And then he played him at centre half and left Leon King on the bench. I didn't quite understand that. So the whole team selection was a wee bit baffling, and the manager said himself he probably got it wrong. And we shouldn't have to bring on Ryan Kent and Kamara Roof at half time to beat Partick Thistle at Ibrox. But we brought them on and we beat them. And the object of the exercise was to be in today's draw, and we were in today's draw. So, we've just got to take it on the chin and move on. It was a terrible performance. Second half was much better than the first half, but the second half wasn't particularly great, which tells you how bad the first half was. I mean, we didn't have a shot on target in the first half at home to Partick Thistle. I mean, that's ridiculous. With all the attacking options we had in the park, I mean, Cantwell, terrific player. He's still got to get used to the way Scottish football is. I mean, it seemed to me that they took him off before he fell out with the ref because he was going down quite easily looking for things that Rangers players simply don't get. And he has to learn that. I think that's possibly one of the reasons he took Cantwell off. Because for me, he should have taken Kamara off because Kamara was dreadful in the first half. But, I mean, he could have taken
anybody off,
to be honest.
He could have took anybody off.
The only one he couldn't have taken off was... The only one he couldn't have taken off was the 41-year-old goalkeeper. Because he kept us in that in the first half.
Please. I don't want to talk about goalkeepers. I really don't want to talk about goalkeepers. Kerr, Sharpie, and this is true, we look like the championship side in the first half. Did he make too many changes? Or was it just a case of too many players had an off night? Or was it players trying to get to know each other? Hadji coming back after a year out, getting his first start. Cholak coming back after an injury. I know I keep talking and making up excuses here, but was there a main reason as to why we were so poor?
No, I think it's just a accumulation of things, and I think all the things you mentioned are probably part of that. And I think he said himself he maybe played too many similar players. Whereas if you get Kent in the party, gives you something slightly different. Not Kamara. Roofs gives us something slightly different. I think when you get Tillman, you Cantwell, you get Hadji, they're all very similar. So they're using the same areas. There's nobody getting out wide, nobody can make the runs off, and they all want to do the same job. Whereas you take off Hadji and Cantwell, you've only really get Tillman doing that, and you can see he actually upped his game and they went off because they had more space to play about with and he created more. So I think it's just learning as he goes. He's got these guys he wants to try and fit in, he wants to give them minutes in their legs. I mean, you ask anybody, any supporters, even as we all said, Partick Thistle was probably the game to do it because it was Partick Thistle. But like I said to you before, Martin, Thistle came to Ibrox and on to lose. I mean, obviously the manager didn't know he was going to get a sack, but by all accounts, they want to get a sack, win, lose or draw, and he did. But they came to Ibrox wanting to lose. They were expected to get destroyed. They knew they were probably going to go out, so they came to try and prove a point, which they probably did, to be fair to them. But that was because Rangers were poor, but Thistle were actually quite decent. And you can say, did we make them decent? We probably did, but you have to give them a bit of credit as well. It made it difficult for us until we actually changed that about. So there's a communication of things, but like Wolf said as well, at the end of the day, we're in the draw for the next round, but I don't think in the future we'll make as many changes. He did say right enough in his press conference, Malik Tillman would have started, but he was injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was something I was going to talk about tonight. But because we spoke about it obviously on the members channel today about Lowry. But obviously with that injury, and I don't want to start just trying to make things up in terms of, is he going to get in the team, is he not? Because it's just a genuine injury, and apparently he left the training centre in a boot as well, so it is a 100%.
Maybe that's how Hadji started. Maybe that's how he started the game, because maybe Lowry was penciled in. So there's all different things, but we got it through. We can look back, and the players are going to have to. I know we say it all the time. We're going to have to improve, but we're going to have to stop saying it and improving for the start of games. But another side of that coin, we got through, and even though we're going behind in games, we're still getting the winners. We're still
that only works for so long, Keir. You know that.
We think that, but it's been 13 games and it's still working. So one's breed confidence, even though we're not doing it for 90 minutes, it's still breeding confidence in the players. They don't know when they're beaten, even when they're playing bad. They still think they've got a chance.
Well, the Wolf brings up the point, Brian. Why do we start so slow in games? It is getting to be a habit, and habits are very difficult to break.
I really don't know. It's the God's honest truth. I have no idea. We're very sluggish. The other team just seems to be more up for it than us at the start of games. We're very casual. We're very passive. We're just everything we shouldn't be at the start of a game. And I've no reason why that is the case. It should be the opposite. It should be you're up for it and you're wanting to win the game convincingly and you're wanting to score goals. And for some reason, we just come out like a turtle, and it's ridiculous how slow we are. It's frightening. I mean, I just don't have an answer, and it's bizarre because, as somebody said in the comments, it was a good team we had out last night. It wasn't. I don't think anybody was sort of thinking, "Oh well, it's not a good team." That forward line, midfield forward, was really good. So we had plenty of options, and we had plenty of talent in the attack. It just wasn't. It's just taken them a bit of time to gel. As somebody said, Hadji's just come back. Campbell's signed, Raskin's signed. So it's obviously not got the right dynamics yet, and they're still getting used to each other. So, but as I say, I don't actually have a specific reason why we're such slow starters. I just don't understand it.
Well, I need to stop paying you now, because that's what you're paid for, to have answers. You know what I mean? It's shocking.
You're getting less and nothing.
Anybody else have an answer?
Do you know what? Well, I don't like to talk about this. I genuinely don't, right? Because the other side of the city do enough talking for probably the top 5 leagues in Europe. But last night, I thought the referee was honking. I thought he was terrible. Even with the assistance of VAR, he got most decisions wrong. The people controlling VAR at the other end, if they made a decision, they got it wrong. The standard of officiating in this country, and I say it all the time, the standard of officiating is ridiculously rubbish. There's no conspiracies here. There's no conspiracies. But, and don't get me wrong, Partick Thistle leading at half-time, none of us sitting here can have any complaints about that, because they were by far the better team. But I'm still trying to rack my brains as to how that's a penalty.
The biggest thing that surprised me about the referee, I don't think I'd ever heard of him before. And I watched the highlights earlier today, and I noticed that he's got a FIFA badge on his shirt. So he's a Scottish FIFA representative, right? That I've never heard of. I go and watch Rangers every week. So I thought I knew our so-called top referees. I've never heard of this guy, and he represents us at international level. And he wasn't very good at all. And it seems that for the penalty, it seems that he had his mind changed for it, which means he's not a very strong referee. because he must have seen what happened, and it took him long enough to have a look at it, you know. And it mystifies me why it was a penalty, because, I mean, I don't often agree with Stephen Craigan, but Stephen Craigan says Cholak's landing on one leg after jumping, right? You can't do that without your hands being slightly away from your body. It was right in front of him. If the ball had bypassed his arm, hit his body, it would have landed in exactly the same place as it did. So it didn't make his silhouette any bigger. So it mystifies me as to how that's a handball. I mean, I don't even think our penalty was a penalty, to be perfectly honest.
No, I do think it was, but I think it was a penalty. I do. Can I just say a big quick thank you and hello to channel legend, the Batchman, John Batchelor, 449 super chat. John, thank you very, very, very much. I'm going to take Will's point about the second penalty care to you. For me, it is a penalty, and I know that if there's people watching this who don't support Rangers, which I know there is, there always is, and sometimes they're sitting watching at 1:30 in the morning and all that good stuff and record it on their phone, which is always, it's nice to know people are watching me at 1:30 in the morning, because it's usually other stuff people are watching at that time. But the second one for me, Kurt, is a penalty simply because there's a foul outside the box, right? That's clear.
Yeah.
Now, if that was it, then obviously it's a free kick outside the box. But he continues inside the box and he's got a hold of his arm. Now, this is where it gets a wee bit stupid, right? He's got a hold of his arm, which isn't enough to make him go down, right? But the fact that he's fouled him outside the box and continued to foul inside the box, for me, is a reason that it is a penalty. Had it just been the tug, I don't think that would have been enough to solely give a penalty. But because it's a continuation of a foul into the box, for me, that's why it's a penalty.
I get what you're meaning, and I see the rules change constantly, but I still give it outside the box. But that's just because I'm old school and I still go with penalties that way. I know the rules get changed constantly, and I know what you mean. The foul started outside and it continued down, and they gave a penalty there. So if that's in your rules, that's in your rules. That's where I have to go with. But I think with all these rule changing, I think sometimes the referees don't know if they're coming or going, and what all said, and when they get told to go and look at the monitor, before they even look at the monitor, they're thinking to themselves, right, I've made a mistake here, I need to change it. So there has to be some consistency, but it's not just up here. VAR's causing issues, and like we said before, VAR's the technology. That's not the issue. It's the people that control it and people that look at it. So we've seen it in England at the weekend, how many controversies they've had. So it's not just up here. It's people, for some reason, referees, I don't know if they know how to control it properly. I don't know if they don't know the rules of football, but something has to be done. There has to be another training course somewhere they all have to go and sit on throughout a day to work this technology, because they're all struggling. Because every game you watch, you see different decisions for the same type of stuff. So we could sit and argue about this penalty, saying it's not a penalty and it's not. And then you can watch a game later on, maybe the Darvel game, and you think, that happened in the Rangers game and that was a penalty, but it's not in the Darvel game. So there's no consistency throughout any football matches in Scotland. Everything is different. But you know yourself, Martin, when it's Rangers involved, it's because we get decisions. That's why people say it's different. But it's no. It's because the refereeing standard, not just Scotland, the whole of UK at the moment is very poor.
Do you know something? Actually, King Rec makes a point, channel member, and based on how many decisions were going against us before VAR, I'm still happy it's here. I think, in general, VAR probably gets more right than wrong. I think it does. Big decisions in games where it's important, some of them have been wrong decisions, which is why I think a lot of people dislike VAR. I make this point all the time, Brian. It's not VAR that's making the wrong decisions. It's the people using it.
We said that before it was going to get installed. You know, it's the same idiots operating the VAR that are on the pitch. So, you know what I mean? It's leopards don't change their spots. They're the same guys making the same decisions. And I mean, there was a game down in England where they drew the lines wrong, so they ruled out a goal. I mean, how can you get that wrong? It's just bizarre how they've been trained in this allegedly, and now they're saying, it was human error, very sorry. It's like, well, that's just ridiculous. It shouldn't be happening. But it is happening. And even our alleged best refs that we get at Ibrox over the last few weeks, months, they're awful as well. And they're officiating in the Champions League and European Championships, and and they're actually not any better than some of these new guys, and that's the problem. It's been Scottish referees for a long time, and I don't see it improving anytime soon unless there's a severe injection with money or they go full time. A lot of them are obviously part time, so they've got to go full time, and they've got to pay a proper wage, because until that, I don't think we're going to move forward any better.
I'm on mute there. I always give you in trouble for that. I'm not sure going full time, Brian, will make any difference when you're looking at a penalty decision where a player's jumping in the air, another player heads it half a yard away from him and it hits his arm. I don't know how full time solves that.
Well,
but that's a conversation for another day. What are you going to say, Brian?
Somebody in the comments did say that Dermot Desmond debunked it wasn't a penalty on Sky Sports this morning.
No, it wasn't there. I would be amazed if it was Dermot Desmond. Probably more Dermot Gallagher.
Dermot Gallagher, sorry.
If it was Dermot Desmond, then what's he doing on Sky Sports News talking about the Rangers? But on a more positive note, yes, it was not the best performance last night. We all agree, but we got through, etc., all the usual cliches. But Nicholas Raskin, or Raskan, depending on how you want to pronounce it, what did you make of him last night? I thought, although we weren't great, I thought he looked quite good. I thought he looked decent.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent. I mean, he played for an awful lot longer than I expected him to. I mean, he only got hooked with 2 minutes to go, which surprised me. I thought he would maybe last 60, 70 minutes because he's hardly played. But yeah, I thought he looked really good. He was always showing for the ball. He wasn't scared to get stuck in. You know, I mean, when the Tillman thing happened and it all went a wee bit chaotic in the goal mode, he was one of the first players there to back his mate up, and he's only been there 5 minutes. You know, so I don't think he minds mixing it. He was always making himself available. Always looking for the ball. I think he'll do okay. I mean, I don't want to get carried away with a guy who we've seen for one game and a little bit of another game. But so far, so good. If that continues, then we've got an absolute star on our hands. Yeah.
Again, Kerr, just quickly on Raskin before we move on. I thought he was tidy. He looked composed. And I hate this. But we need to see him against better teams, etc. We can only judge on what we see. And he looks like, and don't forget, this is his first start. It's only his second game. He only had like a very short sub appearance, I think. Yeah. So for me, he looks like a player who's going to fit in right away.
He does. Now, I thought the longer the game went on, the better he was getting. I know people are saying it may have been tiring, but I thought the longer the game went on, he was getting more involved, and he was box to box. He was at the back trying to get the ball. He was moving forward. What I like about him is that he passes and he moves. He doesn't pass and just watches. He'll pass and move to receive it somewhere else, and his awareness is really good, especially positional sense when he's receiving the ball. He receives it from the shoulder, so he can turn, and his head's always up to look to who he can pass it to. So for a young guy, he's very aware in a football park. He takes the ball really well in, and he's always looking for others on the move before he gets it. So his game management is really good as well. When he gets the ball, he just slows it down, and he's quite direct in his passing. He puts a wee bit of fizz in it, so it reaches the players in the same team. I think he's got a lot of attributes that's going to help us in the future. And I don't know a lot about him, but the twice I've seen him now, I think he looks great. Obviously, I'm not going to go overboard here, but what I've seen so far, he looks fantastic. I know he'll have his ups and downs because he's still young, but I think it's a great acquisition so far. Yeah,
100% agree. 100% agree. So, we got through. End of the day, that's all that really matters. Listen, a 5-6, 7-0 win, great performance. Everybody bonding, gelling, looking good would have been fantastic. But Brian, we got through. And in the next round, believe it or not, we're at home. Which, I'm a wee bit dubious about. I'm not going to lie to you. Wee bit dubious. Against Raith Rovers. I mean, we couldn't really handpicked a better tie, could we?
Not really. I mean, the hot balls worked again today for us, Really glad that's helped us again, that home tie stuff. So it's great. Absolutely great. More home ties the better. But no, it's a good tie. Raith championship team again. So I think as the guys have said, we'll have learnt the lessons from last night and not go as many changes as he's obviously made. He'll try and play probably as strong a team as he can. and just win the game and not mess around. So it's a good tie. Wraith are, have been in the past, a winner of the League Cup and stuff like that. So, it's a good tie. I mean, the only other one you could probably say was the Darvel sort of Falkirk or Ayr tie. That would have been, the other teams.
I'll tell you right now, Brian, I wouldn't have wanted Hearts away.
No,
No.
definitely not. I mean, an away tie anyway. Don't want an away tie either.
See, to be fair, Wolf, you would think that if one of the Old Firm teams was to get a team like Hearts away, which is clearly the most difficult draw outside the Old Firm left in the competition, if one of the Old Firm teams was to get Hearts away, in both the men's and the women's teams, that's a bit too suspicious, is it not?
Just a wee bit. They're trying to make out before the draw that the two members of Biffy Clyro doing the draw were Kilmarnock fans. You know what I mean? Nobody admits to supporting Kilmarnock unless they're trying to hide the fact they're really Rangers fans. So, that's just the way it works. That's just the way it works. Don't want to alienate half their fans and all that. So, yeah, it is a wee bit suspicious. I mean, they even changed Celtic's number for the second draw, and Hearts still drew them twice. So there's something definitely all right there.
I know.
But for me, the two good things for me about a home draw against Wraith Rovers is, first of all, from a personal point of view, there's no ticket scramble because there'll be plenty of tickets for everybody that wants to go to the game. And secondly, it means we can keep the lights on in March because we'll have some money to keep the lights on. So that's that'll stave off another administration. So SFA doing us a favour again. So can he knock it?
I had to contact Rangers and say, I can't give you any more money to keep the lights on. You're going to have to figure out a way to do it yourself. And they decided, obviously, to go down the route of managing to get home draws in the cup, which I don't know how they went. I don't know how they've done it. I genuinely don't know how they've done it, but they've managed it, so fair play to them. Biffy Clyro, that's a smart move by Rangers to get them in to do the draw. That's all I'm going to say, and then we'll move on. Keir,
I was disappointed because they actually. Sorry, Martin, but Biffy Clyro only stepped in at the last minute. It was supposed to be St Phoenix, but they thought that was a wee bit too obvious after the gig at Newlands.
That would have been far too obvious. They couldn't do that. The Rangers and the SFA have got to try and hide it a wee bit. The collaboration. Biffy Clyro was probably the right move, I would say. I'd probably say.
Falkirk have just scored at Darvel.
Oh, well, who cares? Keir. I only care about Rangers. I'm not going to lie. Keir, transfer rumours already. Darius Olaru. No doubt I'm saying that wrong. I know for a fact that before we started, and this is a phrase that we love on this podcast, I know that you've done hundreds and hundreds of research on this boy. So do you want to let the viewing public, do you want to let the millions know watching everything there is to know about Darius Olaru?
He's a box-to-box midfielder who's quite physical on the ball, by all accounts. He's played 23 games this season, scored 1 goal. He's very highly rated, and by all accounts, he's looking for a move to a better league in Europe, but I don't really know much else. I'm not, to be honest with you, Martin, I've never seen him play. I don't know a lot about him that wise. I've watched a bit on YouTube. He looks very competent in the ball, but videos to me don't show you the player really. It just shows you the best bits. And you can make that up for anybody. If that's the case, we're linked with him, that's good, because I link him in a attraction, a midfielder in who's got a lot of potential and he's very highly rated. So that means there's going to be ones heading out the door. So I wonder who that could be. But also we've been linked with Angus Gunn. Don't know if you've seen that, the goalkeeper as well. So the Norwich, 6'5", 27. The only thing with Angus is he's a very good keeper, but he's still got 2 years left in his contract. So I think he would cost us a wee bit of money. But for 27,
well, you know the market down there, Keir, right? And we'll jump to Angus quickly because you like to just keep me jumping and changing subject and all that, because you know how I like to go on an even flow.
I like to keep you on your
that's why you're on your first and final warning as it currently stands. But it's no secret that we're looking for a goalkeeper for the start of next season, right? That's no secret to anybody.
No.
Angus Gunn, number one, Keir, is he good enough? And number two, can we afford him?
I think he's good enough, yeah. I mean, he's put a lot of football down there. He's putting the championship at the moment, which I think the championship's probably on the same level as the SPF. Probably a better level in the SPL, apart from obviously ourselves and The other side is 27, 6'5". So hopefully he's commanding come out for cross balls, which I've not had for a while. A good shot stopper. And he was also at Man City for a while. He came through there.
I remember. Yeah.
So I think it costs us a few bob, but I think we're not going to get him for like a million. I think it might be cost more than that, because depending on what happens tonight this season, if they go up the Premiership, it might be the number one. I don't know if they will, but they might. Somebody said in the chat that they want 3 million. 3 million to me would be a good price, because you don't have to buy James Sands. Just use that money and get a keeper.
Well, we're going to come to that. We are definitely going to come to that.
We're desperate for a keeper. But on the other boy, I mean, if Rangers aren't the best midfielder, we need younger players, my part. We need
He's 24. He's only 24, Keir.
I know. So I mean, Lundstrom. I said before, Lundstrom. I would get, if you can get an offer for Lundstrom, I would take it. Jack, I would keep, because I like Ryan Jack, and I think he can offer a lot. He's still important games. I feel he's probably going. Davis is probably going. Kamara's probably going. So if you get younger guys in there, I think that would help us massively, singing guys like this. But I think the 2 players like that at the moment are 2 players that would improve us.
Right, well, firstly, Brian, on Darius himself. Like I say, he's 24. His predominant position is central midfield. However, he can play attacking midfielder and right winger. He made 17 appearances for the Romania under-21, scoring 2 goals, and he's made 9 appearances for the Romania first team. Now, we discussed this earlier on the members' pod, but we will bring it back up, because let's talk about it to the masses, to the hundreds of thousands of people that tune in. If this is a player that we are seriously interested in, and it's going to be between the 5 and 8 million euro mark, before we touch on the money, before we come to the money, just looking at the league he's playing and the standard that he's playing and the fact that he's a Romanian international, this is a quality player we're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Kerr just said, we're looking at goalie, we're looking at this guy, the money for Tillman, the alleged money for Sands. I mean, there's an awful lot of outlay in all those, positions or people that we're looking at. There's going to have to be some movement on the way out, obviously. And there's a few out of contract. There's maybe 1 or 2 that, like Kamara, that are in contract that might get sold. So there's going to be serious wheeling and dealing this summer, in and out, and it's honestly going to be like a merry-go-round, 1 in, 1 out, or 2 in, 2 out. It's just going to be constantly this summer, and it's going to be very interesting. I mean, the young guy, he plays at Steaua Bucharest. I mean, it's nice that he's sort of flexible. He can play in 2 or 3 positions, but he seems to have nailed down this box-to-box midfield sort of position now. So it'll be interesting. He seems, on the face of it, a very good young player. So the age, again, it's the age that Michael Beale's been going for. So it's obviously that age bracket that he's obviously taken on board that the squad was too old. So he's obviously going down this route of signing younger guys. So it's going to be very interesting summer.
It's going to be very, very interesting. And obviously, we'll be joining his international teammate, Yanis, at Rangers if we were to go and sign him. John Batchelor, again, 449 Super Chat. John, as always, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, my friend. Well, in terms of the position that Darius plays, central midfield, can play attacking midfield, etc., etc. If we're looking to put the outlay on Tillman, which I think 99.9% of Rangers fans agree that we should. If Bayern want to sell him, if we can buy him, whatever the case may be, if we're looking to sign Tillman, should we really be looking at another midfielder for about £4 or £5 million over other positions in the team that we could possibly strengthen?
It depends. It depends on what the budget we've got is and who goes out. I mean, the Tillman thing for me, as I understand the deal, we've got a deal already agreed with Bayern, so it's only down to if Malik Tillman wants to come to Rangers. Because we've said we want him. So the only stumbling block now would be if he turned around and went, "No, I'm not coming." And I think that would only happen if somebody offered him ridiculous money, but hopefully he's happy enough and he'll stay. But I mean, if we're looking at this Romanian guy to bring him in, I'm not so sure he'd be playing beside his Romanian teammate. Because if he comes in, it wouldn't surprise me if we let Hadji go. because we could get an awful lot of money for him just because of what his name is, and he's huge over there. You know, I mean, if this other guy whose name I'm not going to attempt either, if he's under contract and we need to sign him, it wouldn't surprise me if we sent Hadji the other way, because he's absolutely massive over there. But I don't know if that'd be big. I don't know if that'd be a big enough stage for him. And on the Angus Gunn point, do we know is he classed as Scottish trained for Europe? I know he's got caps in the unders for England because he's chose England over Scotland. But is he, Kerr, do you know, is he classed as Scottish trained?
I couldn't tell you, Wolf. I thought I heard he was changing again back to Scotland to play international football. So,
but I mean, even that doesn't matter because John McLaughlin plays for Scotland and he's not classed as Scottish trained. So
I know. So
I just wondered where Angus Gunn spent his youth career.
As England.
No, well,
spent his youth career in England.
That's half.
So obviously he's going to be coming through that. They're coming through the
because of the European thing, you really want your goalkeeper to be one of the Scottish trained players. It's like in the old days of the three foreigners rule. You didn't want your goalkeeper to be foreign. That's why we signed Andy Gorham. That's why we signed Gorham, because you don't want your goalkeeper to be foreign. You know what I mean? Takes up one of your slots. So interesting, as Brian says, interesting times ahead. I mean, it's just typical of what happens at Rangers. The transfer window's just slammed shut, and we're already be linked with players in the one that opens in June.
Well, the reason that this has got legs is because, look, and I said this earlier on today as well, you don't get anything off of Rangers in terms of news or even we driplets of information. You get nothing, right? The Scottish press get nothing, fan media get nothing, nobody knows anything, right? This is coming from Romania, but it's coming across as one of those that there's proper legs in this. Apparently, we've been to watch him before. Apparently, we're going to watch him during the playoffs. So there must be real interest. Now, with that said, Kerr, if there is real interest, if we're signing Tillman, if Lawrence comes back from injury, Cantwell's just joined, Raskin's there, we've got Jack, we've got Kamara, we've got Matondo, we've got Wright, we've got Kent. I mean, we're nearly into double figures for midfielders. So clearly, some have to go. And that's without me even mentioning Arfield or Davis.
Lawrence, you mentioned him?
I did mention Lawrence, yes. Clearly, you just weren't listening as usual.
Man.
So, Kerr, we have an abundance of midfield players there. And you're talking, what are you talking, at least 4 have to go?
I'll probably say more on that, Martin. Because obviously Davis and Arfield, I don't think will stay just because obviously age is against them. Kamara, I think, will go because you can get money for Glenn. Lundstrom, I think you could get money from back down England. Hadji, I agree with Wolf. If you get an offer for Hadji, I think the club would seriously consider it because I think you could get a good bit of money for Giannis because you go to Romania, his face is in every Pepsi can over there and he's because his dad, you've got this romance with Giannis Hadji just because of who his dad was in Romania. And when Wolf remembers, like me, Romania were always a really good national side when I was young, but they've not really hit the heights recently. But with Giannis here, they still get that, want to get back to where they were because it's Giannis Hadji, not Georgia Hadji. So I think you could sell Hadji for maybe more than we bought him for. So that's a few players out the equation and keep Jack, Raskin, you get Tillman, Lawrence, Kent, I would keep Wright. I wouldn't. Matondo's probably 50-50 depending on what Bill wants because he's not really played. Sakala's probably another one you could get money for, but obviously Sakala can make a difference in games for us at the moment. So would you want to sell him? But he's one that you could probably sell for because he's the type of player that teams would like in their squad. So I think in the summer, we'll end up in the summer. There'll be a lot of outgoings, but I think it might surprise you with some of the outgoings might not be players we expect to go. I think some players that we maybe expect to keep, but the club may sell them because they get a wee bit of money for them.
And that's without me even mentioning Lowry as well. And I forgot to mention Lundstrom until you brought him up, Kerr. So, but Wolf, I suppose in a way, because this story does seem to have legs, it kind of makes you confident in a way that, you know, the manager's come in and he's already looking at where to improve. And if he's looking at where to improve, he'll be looking at where to let players go as well. So I think that these wee transfer rumours give you confidence that, you know, albeit the transfer window is just closed, Rangers are still going.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to do your transfer business now. You've got to be looking about. I mean, we were in the unfortunate situation. We changed our manager just about the time of the World Cup when everybody was looking at, there was a 5 where clubs had time to kind of get their ducks in a row. That's why some clubs brought in players right at the start of the window, because they had them all lined up, because their manager had been looking at them from the start of the season, probably from the end of last season. We changed our manager just before the World Cup, so we didn't have that. So we have to be looking now at what we're doing. I mean, directors of football keep telling you they're working 2, 3, or 4 windows ahead. So they should be going to the manager with names and saying, right, this is the list we've got. If you get in, do you fancy any of these? These are the guys we're looking for, and they should be looking now. They should already be negotiating now with guys they're bringing in the summer, because as soon as we come back from pre-season training, the majority of our signings should be made. It should be none of this last day of the window stuff. I mean, I would expect a few to go out last day of the window, but we should be in the position, because the manager's been in place for a while, that come whenever they go back to training, second or third week in June, the new signings are in announced and ready to hit the ground running, so that we're ready to go for the start of the season, and we're tilted to the Champions League after we win this title and get straight in.
Right, I shouldn't do this on air, right? I really shouldn't. But I was talking to Carl, and we're doing Wolf and Brian. You're doing the Rangers women's show later on tonight, 9 PM or 9:30. What would you prefer? Quickly, Brian, you're on mute.
9 PM.
Wolf, is 9 PM okay with you?
As long as you've got us off here by then, yeah, fine.
Yes, we'll be off here in 5 minutes. So yes, 9 PM is okay with you.
Fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Brian, I will leave the final point to you about what the two guys were just talking about. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, just reading the boy Olaru, his contract's up next 2024, is that correct?
Yes.
So another guy running down his contract, but again, he's a Romanian international, so we'll have to pay top dollar.
Between 5 and 8 million euros.
Yeah. And they're saying, the transfer market website's just under 5.5 million euros. So it's about the sort of number that we're expecting. I mean, when you're looking at the guys who we think will leave, the obvious ones are clearly Arfield and Davis, because they're out of contract. So there's 2 straight away. You'd probably, I think, as William Irvin said on a few occasions, Lowry will probably get a loan the next season, because he needs games and he really needs a full season of Premiership football with somebody. We thought it was going to be St Mirren in January, but it didn't happen. So, and then the other ones that are looking saleable assets are sort of Lundstrom and Kamara. Again, do they want to stay or do they want to go? Does Beale like them? Does he want them? Matondo, he's not featured hardly at all. So there's another one that you could say, well, sorry, you've cut our losses and let him go, because that's a big wage.
Oh, it's simple. It's just cutting your losses and letting him
go. No, I know,
but I mean, he's on a big wage.
He's on a big wage. But I mean, if you say to the player, look, I'll let you go and join somebody else, then you'd like to think you'd get rid of him reasonably easy. But at the same time, that's the sort of area that I would think that's going to happen. It's the 2 obvious guys that are out of contract, and then Lowry to go out on loan, and then one of either Kamara or Lundstrom to leave.
Final point then, Kerr. Does all this transfer chat, all these rumours, all the midfielders that we've got, does it kind of put to bed the thoughts on us signing Sands permanently?
Yeah, it's just been unlucky for James. Under the last manager, he played quite a lot, but obviously Michael Beale's come in. He's had less minutes in the part, and we played yesterday, and he done okay. He was involved in the winning goal. But I just feel he's not the player we need to move forward. It's just unlucky for him. I think he'll go back and maybe go back to America and then move back to Europe at some point. But at Rangers, I just feel we need to move somewhere different. I don't think he's a player under the manager we've got.
I think it's a shame a wee bit, I suppose, because he was playing in defence for so long, was never really given a run in his natural position, and I just think Wolf in general, I just don't think he's good enough. Is that fair, or is that a wee bit too critical for somebody who hasn't played.
I don't think that's fair because we haven't, as you say, we haven't seen him in this position he's supposed to play in, and we're not going to because we're top heavy with midfield players, and he's getting further and further down that pecking order. But the more players we bring in, and he's been unlucky. I don't think he's the sort of player we would have signed had Michael Beale been making the decision. Had Michael Beale been the manager at the time he came in, I don't think he would have signed him. To be perfectly honest, I just don't think he's his type of player. But I mean, the same goes for Tony Cholak. I'm not quite sure Beale would have brought in him as a striker because he's not the sort of striker that doesn't sort of play the way that he plays. So he might look to get rid of him in the summer. But then a lot of that will depend on what happens with Morelos. Because
no.
So
we're not getting into the debate about Alfredo Morelos tonight. We do not have the time, Wolf. I'm just making an observation about the fact that I don't think Michael Beale would have signed James Sands because he's not his type of player. And I'm not sure he would have signed Cholak either because he's not his type. He doesn't seem to be his type of player. So does he look to try and get rid of him? And do we get a lot of money for him? I mean, Brian was saying, we can get rid of Matondo. That's easier said than done. If Matondo's on anything like what he's rumoured to be on, given the way he's played for us, there's not a lot of clubs going to come in and pay him the sort of money that he's on here. And if he's under contract, he could just sit and say, well, I'll just trouser my money. Thank you very much. Depends how much he wants to play and how much he likes the club. You know what I mean? So that could be a problem. He might end up having to be a loan deal. We pay half the wages. Might have to be one of them. You know what I mean? Don't know. It'll be a very interesting window. But the rumours will certainly not stop, and they'll only get better and better. Or Matondo might surprise everybody, turn his form around and become a fantastic player. You never know. But we shall leave it there, guys. Thank you very much. That was an amazingly quick hour. So thank you, Wilf. Thank you, Kerr. Thank you, Brian. Cheers. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like and subscribe and check out our sponsors, Kitbag. The link for them is in the description. Their Star Buy sale is ready to finish up. Get up to 65% off a wide range of football gear and other fancy stuff as well. Make sure you like and subscribe, like I said. Join us again in half an hour for the Rangers Women's Show. If you're into that, then tune in for that. Wilf, Brian and Carr will be on that for your viewing pleasure as well. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you all again on Friday, unless you're a member. And if you're a member, then you can tune in to our new Rangers Legends series, which comes out tomorrow night at 7 p.m. If you're a member. If you want to become a member, you want to help support the podcast, then the link is in the description, or you can use the join button below the window here, I think. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully we'll see you all back at 9 p.m. for the Rangers Women's Show. Good night.